Welcome back, everybody. My name is Grace, or Gibby, whatever you prefer, and today I'm here with a complete guide to the April Fool's event. So you can access all the quests by clicking on the spinning head in the today's event page, and I also want to say that this guide goes through every quest year by year. I talk about the items rewards for each quest, as well as like tricky monsters or buggy mechanics, so you can complete the quest yourself without trouble. And then also, this guide has a written form linked in the description in case you don't like watching a whole video or just want a quicker way to look at one or two items with info subs that are linked in. As well, it's going to be sorted by the time of the quest in the timestamp. So if you're interested in the 2013 quest, there will be a timestamp in the description or a chapter, and you'll be able to click on that and then go to the right time. So, with all that said, I'll just get started. Save Twilly is the first quest from 2006, and there's pretty much nothing notable about this quest. All the monsters are underleveled. If you're low level, you might struggle to beat the last boss, Cabraz, because his level is locked on occasion, but I haven't tested that fully. I would recommend bringing a spell or tome or skill of some kind that you can use in any armor, because you are locked to the mini-me armor for the rest of the quest after a certain point, which has a weak skill. There are no rewards from that quest. The End, 2007, is a very quick quest. You only fight one monster, and it's underleveled, and the reward is the Bauble Devourer, which is a fire pet that attacks half the time, and it does double damage because of that. Pretty simple quest, pretty mid reward. Understandable, it happens. The Rise of the Nerflord is from 2008, and this quest is a little tricky for a couple reasons. First, all the monsters are underleveled, but they do like nerf your gear with a bunch of choke items, so you won't be able to do much damage. What I recommend is getting the Essence of Carnage guest summoned in the Backlash form before the quest starts, because that will stay with you throughout the quest, and it'll do tons of damage because because of the way it works, it just does a ton of damage relative to other stuff. And you're taking extra damage because of your nerfed gear. You can also use a Backlash Misk if you have one, although those are very rare. And you could use a spell built into a Misk, so something like the Eye of Sakragon or Frigid Zorback Doll. The rewards for this quest are the nerf weapons, which cap out at level 80, roughly, and have melee ranged and magic versions that can lower a foe's stats by 24 on a random chance, and it takes 6 special procs, so 6 of those random chances to lower them by that much. The Nerflord's Crest is a shield that reduces the foe's highest stat by 2 for every miss, and it's capped at 30 stat points reduced. It's also a max level 50 shield. So those pretty much are only useful for cheesy setups or like showcase videos. There's the Squirrel of Order. It's an Earth defense loss pet. It's a minus 10 defense loss for 4 turns for Earth, but it can't stack with other defense loss for itself, so it's quite poor in that regard. The Nerf Batlord is essentially a wind clone of Nerf Kitten with permanent self buffs and permanent defense loss buffs. This god must be Loco is the 2009 quest. There are no notable monsters. They're all under-leveled, and the route to solve the quest is to do all 5 tasks, and then once you've done that, do Arya's cats again, and then talk to Warlick, I think it is, who finishes the quest. And if you have to talk to Warlick and he doesn't notice, even after you do the cats again, talk to Warlick, then talk to the cats with Arya again. So just do the cats after you finish everything, and it should work out. So it has the Super Joy Buzzer, which is an energy melee weapon, which is level 80 max. There's the Joke Gun, a wind range 100 proc weapon, capped at level 80. There's Loco's Blessing, a magic random element 100 proc weapon, capped at level 80, but it also gives access to a temporary misc, which can do some crazy stuff randomly to your spells, like double their damage or make them hit you. So there's some fun stuff you can do with that. Not very optimal, but fun. The Red Herring is an old standard water pet, so it requires Charisma to attack, and it has 4 hits and is capped at level 90. The Whoopee Cushion is a Wind Dark Compression Subtractive Misc. It's actually our best Wind Dark dual element misc, I believe. 2010s. This quest has the Unbeatable Loco fight, if you're interested in that, but the fight is not required for the quest. You can just bypass it. The rewards are the Shadow Wolf Pack and the Shadow Bat Swarm, both dark spells that are quite poor, and the Shadow Bat Swarm is found in Warlick's shop, so it's near useless to do the quest for it. However, it is a fun little quest. I enjoyed it. Mortal Side Effects is the 2011 quest, and there are no notable monsters, but they do start becoming level appropriate in this quest. They do start scaling to 150, that is. The Guardian Horsefly Rider is a 125 level wind armor with no extra effects aside from a 50% chance at an inaccurate but hard-hitting attack. So don't get it, obviously, if you're above level 125. Summon Locomotive is a dark wind random element guest that's capped at level 120. Ear of Corn is a misc that provides 4 to defenses and bonus to hit. It's quite poor, but it is interesting and unique. And Crabapple is a random misc that either gives -10 to a random resistance or times 1.2 damage to one element. The only interesting thing about this is it costs 5 SP, and if you skip your turn with something like a health potion or Clever Disguise, the element defense doesn't change, so there are theoretical uses for it, but it's a very bad misc. Possessed 2012 is, excuse me, Possessed 2012 has no notable monsters, but there are level appropriate monsters. And the reward you get is the Loco costume, which is an energy armor with minor fire and wind secondaries. And it has 3 random attacks that have different random effects. They also convert melee to ranged or ranged to melee unpredictably, so it's very difficult to use if you're not a mage, because your ranged attacks might go melee, your melee attacks might go ranged. Donovan's Disaster is a 2013 quest, and there are no notable monsters, but several are level appropriate. The rewards are the Guardian Night Sever weapon, which is a 0-proc melee magic toggle earth sword, and it's a very strange weapon that triggers against like a million different things in the game, like Canadian, for example, and like Slug, for example. And it gets a slight damage boost for each trigger that the monster has, and it loses 5% damage if they don't have any of the triggers listed on the info subs. There are also several strange house guards like the Draco Vamplantis, Alpha Dracoglin, the Metal Raider, and the Draco Fiend Lord. It's a fun little quest. It's very weird, but it's a little bit fun. The Babes of Battleon is from 2014. The notable monsters are the Rune Golem boss, which attack with both earth and wind. However, they can be stun-locked or nuked, so I don't really count them as a too difficult fight. You come prepared and know that they might attack with the opposite element. The rewards for this are the summon Utgard Loco, which is a very unreliable MP cost mana guest. It has a low chance to do double damage, and an extremely low chance to do 7 times damage, and a high chance of doing 10% damage. So in general, it'll be very bad in short fights because it'll just do low damage most of the time. Babby is a pet that randomly picks its element at the beginning of each battle and does significantly boosted damage to compensate. It's more than 110%. It's actually like 120%, which is different from other items that do this. Arya's Rattle is the real gem of this release, which boosts pet damage by 45% and gives 8 bonus to hit for pets as well, and it only costs 28 SP each turn. It's extremely powerful and potent for Beastmasters if you're not using Hypercrit and Optical. I really recommend picking this up for anyone who likes to use their pets. The Clowns vs Truphma is a 2015 April Fool's War quest. There are no notable monsters, but they are scaled to your level. The balloon weapons are 10 proc energy melee sword, a 10 proc energy ranged glaive, and a 100 proc energy magic wand. The Balloonzard is an energy pet with a 50% damage of doing lower or higher damage on each attack. Nothing too notable. Frogzard Hunter 2016 quest. There are no notable monsters, and the reward is ass. This is the only quest that I think is really just not worth doing because it's just a copy of the Frogzard Hunter event with a different monster at the end and with some emojis flared in. So it's quite boring to do. 2017 isn't really a quest per se, but it's the lazy quest. And if you basically leave your character online and AFK for 12 hours, you receive almost all of your daily golden XP. It only works during the April season. The painting doesn't work like this, and time is counted while your computer is asleep. So you can log an account in before you go to bed or something, and then when you wake up 8 hours later, make sure to get enough sleep, guys and ladies and people. I'm watching you. Get some sleep. But when you wake up 8 hours later, the time is counted, so it's very easy to rack up a reward like that. Or if you leave for work, you can put your computer to sleep, for example. And then when you get back, the time will have counted, even if the timer says it hasn't. Egads, Exploding Eggs, is the 2018 quest, and this can be accessed from the Grenrog painting or from the April Fool's painting. They go to the same quest. There are no notable monsters, except that the unbeatable Loco is also in this quest. But you don't have to kill him, obviously, because he's meant to be an unbeatable. The rewards are the Red Herring Flail, a 20 proc melee water mace with a -3 BTH lean that has a 33% chance of increasing BTH by 12. So it's basically just a 20 proc melee weapon with a little bit of swag because it's funny, I guess. I don't know. I don't really like it. Finally, the Loco Explosion is a 3-hit fire spell that has a 100% chance times hit accuracy to attempt to paralyze the monster, not based off resistance. It's potentially useful for a lot of free-to-play players without Love Potion or Pearl of Power, as a guaranteed stun not based off resistances is very rare. Nothing to see here is a 2019 quest, and there are no notable monsters except for a somewhat difficult local boss fight. He attacks with energy and chokes you, and then he attacks with fire if you're choked. However, if you're not choked, he will attack with energy again, and then he'll also use his SP attack whenever he can, and if he runs low on mana, he'll restore it with a wind attack. So just keep that in mind. Use an energy fire compression armor or switch between them if you get choked, and just whittle him down. He's also immune to almost all statuses, so you can't stun lock him, even though he doesn't have freedom. The rubber chicken and the locomotive, well actually I'll talk about the rubber chicken. It's a melee and magic variant weapon. They're 20 proc weapons that randomly pick an element at the start of battle, and they get a 1.1 times damage multiplier. They also have completely random damage ranges, which can be very fun. The locomotive is a token, it's energy spell, or SP skill. The int one is MP, and the SP skill checks your weapon and then uses strength or dexterity for its stats. The energy spell trades half its damage for a 4-turn fear. It's particularly bad now that Necro has the same effects in 3 different elements, fire, dark, and harm. But before that, it was pretty good. There's also the generic April Fool's painting in this quest. Kidnapped is a 2020 quest from April Fools, and there are no notable monsters. Do know that you'll be playing as Loco instead of your character, so you'll have some pretty strong skills. The only monster that's slow to kill is the Cyclops, but it is what it is. You can just fight through 5 waves, and then you'll finish the war, and then you fight 1 more wave, and you'll finish the quest. The rewards are the Deceiver's Fortune, which is a fully offensive energy armor with a 5% base lucky strike boost and a further 10% boost based off a pretty forgiving charge system. It has minor light and fire secondaries. Pretty niche, but it can be used if you're going for a specific hypercrit value to get 100% crit chance. Clever Disguise is a mist that gives 40 charisma and luck and reduces monster bonus to hit by 4. It can be clicked to pay 98 SP and skip your turn, giving your pet and guest celerity, a very potent Beastmaster tool. There's also the generic April Fool's painting, the 2020 April Fool's painting, and the Deceiver's Hood faces. Utgard Loco is the 2021 quest. This one's pretty cool overall. The notable monsters are Ellie, who is the final boss, and you have to survive 10 turns to win and survive 20 turns to unlock the challenge title. If you kill her, it's a pretty cool flex because she's very difficult to beat. She has auto hit, death element damage, and she's just pretty strong. So it's cool if you beat her. But the rewards are the Ancient Tower Scale, which is an ice water compression shield you can click to toggle between them, the 2021 April Fool's painting, and if you beat the challenge, the Timeless Legend challenge title. Fool Me Twice is the 2022 April Fool's Quest. There are no notable monsters, and the rewards are the Bun-Barian Armor, which is a fully offensive ice armor that compresses earth and light at 43%. It gives you celerity once per battle when you go below half HP, and it gives you charisma and strength when you're hit by the foe. You also take 4% more damage and have an 8.5 blind applied to you to compensate for those effects. The blind is somewhat mitigated by the strength boost, however not completely. There's also the 2022 April Fool's painting. Finally, the last quest is Fortune's Return, and that's the most recent one from this year. There are no notable monsters except for the difficult local boss fight, who I explained how to fight in 2019, in the 2019 segment, but he attacks with energy and then with his mana bar, and then if you're choked, he will attack with fire the next turn. He also does some wind and some element seeking, but those are less important. It's really just a fire attack that can kill you if you're not paying attention. The rewards are the Weird Ward, which is a water shield that can be clicked once per battle to automatically block the next hit that the monster does. Not the whole attack, just the first hit. The rewards are also the generic April Fool's painting and the 2023 April Fool's painting. That's pretty much it for all of the April Fool's events. I hope this guide has been helpful, and I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace and love, everybody. Take good care of yourself. Drink some water, and have a good one.